shower. Hope it's not too hot where you are. It's another Wednesday evening, News Extra evening, and it is a bumper edition. The president has just come back from the UAE, a package to boost his next level agenda. We will tell you about that. Young Nigerians, the bride of this administration, are in for another beneficial engagement as government rolls out the N-Built program. We have security and security-related stories. Ever heard of pipe band? We'll hear tonight. There is a lot on health matters, business, population growth and control, plus news making the rounds in the sports circles. Now that the rains are getting in, don't miss the weather forecast. Just go, you'll know if you have to come out with an umbrella or a raincoat tomorrow. That's the outlook on News Extra with me, Fatima Abbas Hassan. We begin with the dividends of Mr. President's visit to the UAE. The United Arab Emirates has indicated its willingness to key into the next level agenda of the Buhari administration by exploring opportunities in a broad spectrum of areas critical to the socio-economic transformation of the two countries and their peoples. This was when the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, played host to President Muhammadu Buhari on the sidelines of the annual investment summit just ended in Dubai. State House correspondent Adam Osambo has more on that.
The high-level engagement between President Muhammadu Buhari and the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, was a follow-up to the judicial agreements earlier signed between their countries on extradition, transfer of sentenced persons, and mutual legal assistance on criminal matters. Apart from resolving to intensify faithful implementation of the agreements, the two leaders also promised to deepen existing cooperation in the areas of defense and security, artificial intelligence, health, education, as well as climate change.
The Crown Prince felt that we could be doing a lot more together, and of course that they are very happy with the situation in Nigeria where Mr. President has brought the country to, and so they very much want to key into that. Clearly, I think what they are seeing is that Mr. President has laid a very solid foundation during his first term. They all congratulated him on his election victory. They all expressed happiness that he has been re-elected, and they are now looking forward to taking advantage during his second term to really take all together Nigeria to the next level and engage with Nigeria at a higher, a more intense level.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who appreciated the support of the United Arab Emirates to Nigeria's efforts at fighting terrorism, insurgency and corruption, made a case for prospective investors to come and explore the abundant opportunities in the country. Nigeria, he maintained, is indeed ready for business.
The President has been able to really showcase Nigeria, talk about what we have, the opportunities in Nigeria for investment, and it's given assurances that that the government will do everything to reinforce the enabling environment for them to come to Nigeria and invest. And he's made the point that those who want to invest in Nigeria, who want to come into Nigeria, who want to cooperate with Nigeria, that they will see a government and a country that is really ready to partner with them.
Meanwhile, the annual investment meeting attended by the President in Dubai has ended with some of the participants from Nigeria describing it as an eye-opener.
The people of Niger State, I can assure you, most of our youths are IT compliant. They have shown interest over time in the use of applications and through their mobile phones and iPads. So I think the areas the government can come in is to support this process for efficiency, transparency, in the private sector to enhance their capacity to improve their profits.
I've heard that one of the companies wants to take our sesame seed, hibiscus flowers, and goat meat as well. You know, we are good at it. There is also the possibility of exporting mangoes out of Jigawa to different hyper supermarkets in the world.
We have a very clear-cut digital strategy. Working with Google and MainOne, we have over the last several months invested quite a bit of money and also dug up 400 kilometers of fiber connection within Benin City and environs. We want to make Edo State the digital hub of the south of Nigeria.
Already, President Muhammadu Buhari has returned to Abuja after a successful outing at both the Investment Summit in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, as well as the World Economic Forum on the shores of the Dead Sea in Jordan, where he delivered keynote speeches. Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
And back home, about 500 million naira has been approved by the Federal Executive Council for the procurement of memory access and retrieval system to enhance safety in the aviation sector. And 75,000 young Nigerians are to benefit as the country moves to build a crop of competent and skilled workforce through the N-Build program. It's over now to State House correspondent Jide Onifade for these and other deliberations at the Federal Executive Council meeting held in Abuja.
Of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, led 5 other ministers to brief the press on deliberations at the Federal Executive Council meeting chaired by the Vice President. For the aviation sector, Council considered and approved a memorandum presented for the procurement of memory access and retrieval system.
This memory access retrieval system is to enhance safety. Safety and security being the main thrust of the policy of Muhammadu Buhari's government on aviation. And this is to enhance our laboratory in accident investigation.
368 million naira was approved for the FCT Water Board for the purchase of materials to improve water supply in the Federal Capital Territory.
While the second memo was a contract for the supply of 500 firemen suits, under the FCT fire services of the Emergency Management Agency of the FCT.
2 contracts were approved by the Council under the National Social Investment Program. Both are under the N-Power Build, a non-graduate program that seeks to deliver accelerated training and certification skill.
Those have been so far done zone by zone. And today, the contract for the Southeast zone of Nigeria was awarded in the sum of 122,800,000 naira. Then the one for the Northwest zone, N-Power Build Northwest zone, it in the sum of 145,106,170.
Now we have a council that will be responsible for qualifications in areas of vocational education, technical and vocational education.
Concerned over the conditions of the prisons and inmates, most of them awaiting trials, government has been working to decongest the prisons. And the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation says government is employing technology to address the problem.
The idea is to have in place in all the prison formations an interconnectivity to certain formations, particularly the Office of the Attorney General, the police, the prison service, and indeed selected courts that could be connected to the prison formation and then to these offices. And the essence is to have an idea on day-in, day-out basis as to what obtains in our prisons across the nation.
Asked if the government is overwhelmed by its debts, Minister of Budget and National Planning, Udoma Udoma, said it's true the country is facing financial challenge, but efforts are being made to increase its earnings. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
Now, the killings in Zamfara State have become more disturbing especially as they affect the socio-economic structure of the state. The need to cushion the effects of this social dislocation becomes imperative, as Senate has resolved to appropriate 10 billion naira for the victims. It also urged the federal government to constitute a presidential committee on the crisis. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Onko has that report.
The mood in the Red Chamber was emotive. This was as a result of two motions which border on loss of lives arising from banditry and killings in Zamfara and kidnappings in Taraba states. Senator Kabiru Marafa once again brought the matter of the killings in Zamfara state as very urgent at this moment. His motion called for the appropriation of 10 billion naira in the 2019 budget to cater for the victims.
Command all Nigerians who, irrespective of cultural, religious and tribal differences, came out in their numbers to show solidarity to the plight of their brothers and sisters in Zamfara state.
So I must also commend the media. Today, almost all the newspapers in Nigeria made efforts to report about the problems in Zamfara. We would only give the support, whether it is financial or otherwise, when we understand what are those operations that the security agencies need to apply.
This is not an issue that we have to wait for the implementation of 2019 budget.
Then for us to now totally ban the use of motorbike in Zamfara state.
Thank God that even we are going to deliberate the reform of the police so that we can look inward and look at the nitty-gritty.
There's need for us to have state or community police. It's the way forward.
Deputy Minority Leader Emmanuel Bwacha also canvassed for legislative intervention on increasing cases of kidnapping in Taraba state.
Now, why I say it is becoming dangerous is you pay the ransom and yet you won't be released.
Senate adopted the report of its technical committee on declined assent to bills by Mr. President, which recommended that 11 of the bills be reconsidered and retransmitted, 4 to be withdrawn, and for Senate to override the President's veto on 2. Senate passed the University of Agriculture Zuru Kebbi State Establishment Bill. Chairman Senate Committee on Media and Publicity, Aliu Sabi Abdullahi, briefed National Assembly correspondents, during which he explained that the ruling party will not jettison the cooperation of the opposition party in the election of its presiding officers in the Night Assembly.
We want to exhibit the highest sense of maturity in doing this, and that is why we are doing it. We are engaging our colleagues, and that is the key.
And the bill seeking to introduce electric cars in Nigeria has been passed for first reading. The bill is sponsored by Senator Ben Mura Bruce. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTN News.
The Air Task Force of Operation Diramikia has continued to record successes in its renewed air offensive against armed bandits in Zamfara state and environs. According to the NAF Director of Public Relations and Information, the Air Task Force coordinated intensive air raids against multiple identified armed bandits hideouts at Domboro, Sububu, West Malamawa, Bature Pond and Rugu Forest, where several bandits were neutralized and their camps destroyed. The airstrikes, which were intensified on Monday with the deployment of additional aircraft, aimed at flushing the bandits out of their hideouts in these forests, among others, while ensuring the protection of the lives and properties of citizens in the northwest of the country. Reports indicate that as a result of the airstrikes, some of the bandits are fleeing towards the border between Nigeria and Niger Republic. Accordingly, the Air Task Force is liaising with relevant authorities to ensure that the bandits are prevented from escaping through the southern part of Niger Republic. The Kogi State Police Command has inaugurated Operation Puff Adder, deployed to the state in line with the directive of the Inspector General of Police. The 340 police personnel are to complement the force in crime prevention and control. Francis Udojo has that report.
Tertiary institutions of repute take pride in churning out students who have been found worthy in learning and character. However, indiscipline has eaten deep into the fabric of some of these institutions and is manifesting in various dimensions in the society, accounting for high rate of crime and other social vices. Many say lack of parental guidance, poor teacher-student relationship, and lack of mentorship are among several factors responsible for the rising cases of indiscipline, especially in tertiary institutions.
Parents need to do more. We call these children the leaders of tomorrow. We're supposed to give them good orientation.
Today, parents are so much carried away with trying to get money. And so in this way, we find out that everyone is to be blamed.
Any child that is deceiving his parent that he has gotten admission and is doing another thing is deceiving himself. He's not deceiving the parent. Himself, not self-deceit is even worse than any other thing.
Guests on the program, while acknowledging the problem as a societal crisis, urged the adoption of effective disciplinary mechanisms to manage excessive freedom students enjoy in the campuses.
The foundation of what the attitude would be in life ought to have been formed by the time you are entering the university. It gets polished off and finished off in the university.
You have a lot of students who are using psychotropic medication, psychotropic drug, whether it's opioid, family, whether it's all sort of things. So by the time you are under the influence, one is no longer rational.
Sometimes these students do not come with these attitudes from home, but the so-called academic freedom they come into, if the university doesn't give them direction, they now fall into the hands of those who are into those things already.
Every school, every tertiary is supposed to have a guiding rule standing for all students, no matter who the student is.
Institutions where the management stamp their feet and authority that they will not allow anybody to default, their principles. They get things right.
Catching them young, such as in secondary schools like this, is also key in laying a proper upbringing for the young ones, so that when they are older, they will not derail. In Abuja, Abdulsalam Jibril, NTA News.
We're sorry about the mix-up in that story. That was actually the comments of guests on Good Morning Nigeria when they were discussing the issue of indiscipline and misconduct from students of tertiary institutions in the country. Of course, they advocated stricter enforcement of prevailing rules and regulations and collaboration of all stakeholders as agents of discipline. Moving on, make political offices less attractive, hold leaders accountable and responsible, and then prosecute sponsors and actors of political violence. And Nigeria will surely be better for it. These were the recommendations of guests on NTA's Current Affairs program, Tuesday Live. Momso Damien Dati has that report.
Desperation to retain political power or acquire it at all costs, alleged lack of transparency and fairness in the electoral process are major factors many say are responsible for electoral malpractices, with ballot box snatching that lead to loss of lives and property topping the list.
So the incentive is by the candidates themselves who want to win the election by all means, at all costs.
Violators, the actors, know that they can get away with it. They know how porous our criminal justice system particularly is.
Lack of value for self is what prompts people into violence. For instance, Mr. Cyril, I will not engage in violence no matter the amount of money you will pay me.
When election comes, everybody wants to prove that, okay, I want my own because that's where I feel protected.
Investigations reveal that such cases were witnessed in Rivers, Lagos, Kano, Enugu, Oyo, and other states in the just concluded 2019 general elections. The consensus by panelists is for stronger penalties for perpetrators of violence before, during, and after elections.
It's the place of the law to elevate a standard, to raise a standard of behavior. Once it falls short of the standards we have all given to ourselves, I'm not talking about the social contract, then the law will come, Lady Justice will wield her long sword.
Level of literacy and cases of violence in any country all over the world. So that means that we must give priority attention to educating our people.
So there's a need for that one Nigeria, one people, one destiny, that we need to have a platform like this that will provide all the community, various ethnic communities, ethnic nationalities in the country to sit, air out their grievances.
To curb this electoral violence, we need home training. That is the first point of contact of a human being.
Allowing this trend of violence to continue, just agreed, will endanger the survival of democracy, attaining international standards. In Abuja, Momso Damien Dati, NTA News.
Thank you so much, Momso. Now, coming up next, reports on the Nigerian military from the angle of professionalism and the prospect of a female soldier. Don't go away. News Extra, we'll be right back.
Helen!
Hey, where's your mom?
Today is her toilet day.
What?
Helen!
Toilet day?
Tomorrow you're hosting a party and it's a matter of my reputation.
Even if you spend your entire day cleaning with all this, it still won't be party ready.
Impossible!
Challenge? New Ticker Harpic 10X. Even if you use this solution 10 times, it won't give you the same cleaning like Harpic. Because its new Ticker formulation sticks to the bowl better, giving you a sparkling clean toilet.
Wow!
New Harpic 10X
gives me the freedom from toilet day.
The Director General and Management of the Nigerian Institute for Advanced Legal Studies invites members of the public to a symposium on international investment law and practice. Theme: Contemporary Trends in Investment Law and Policy, Lessons for Nigeria, and public presentation of the book titled Law of International Investment, Essays in honor of Professor Michael Ayo Ajomo. Keynote speaker: Yewande Sadiku, Executive Secretary, CEO, NIPC. Date: Thursday, 11th April 2019. Time: 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Venue: Ayo Ajomo Auditorium, National Institute for Advanced Legal Studies, University of Lagos, Akoka, Lagos. Management Announcer.
What is it that transforms the economies of the world? More than a nation's natural resources, it is about the quality of its people. The UAE has largely transitioned from an oil-driven economy into one that is knowledge-based. And by developing their human capital, others who have little or no natural resources have become global leaders in technology and innovation. We can also do the same. Combining modern skills with entrepreneurship development will give rise to enterprises which can increase the demand and capacity for skilled labor. Our mission at the Industrial Training Fund is to provide the knowledge and skills that can meet this demand, in recognition that this combination is the global currency of the 21st century economies. And so for us, this is what it's all about.
When I was a little girl, I loved spending time with Mum and Grandma cleaning the house. I was so excited to sing in the choir.
And your shirts are always so white.
I knew what Mum's secret was. Today, I'm a modern woman that still trusts the secrets passed down to me. It's Jik, of course. The original trusted bleach, which can be used all around your house for amazing results.
Shh, it's our little secret.
It's no secret. It's Jik's best ever extra whitening power. Just Jik it.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Good to have you join us again on News Extra tonight. With the current level of insurgency and other criminal activities like banditry, kidnappings and cultism in the country, the Nigerian Army says it will continue to leverage on training as a catalyst for enhanced professionalism in defending the nation's territorial integrity. This informed the 2-division inter-brigade competition at the headquarters of the 32 Artillery Brigade in Akure. Olajide Bello has the details.
The Nigerian Army is functionally organized into 2 combat arms, which include infantry and armored, combat support arms, which are artillery, engineers, signals, medical, supply, transport, as well as training and doctrine command, TRADOC. All these arms function independently, but with unity of purpose and one goal: to defend the nation's territorial integrity. These are corporals and below of the Nigerian Army, drawn from 2 division, headquarters 32 Brigade Garrison, 323 Artillery Regiment Brigade, and 32 Artillery Brigade. They are in Akure as part of what the Army calls constant overhauling to make them fully professional and responsive. It is a competition in core areas of drill, weapon handling, map reading, physical fitness, obstacle crossing, and combat swimming.
It is also designed to prepare them for battle, especially in combating contemporary security challenges in the country. In a bid to achieve this, relevant events geared towards enabling the participants to imbibe the spirit of competition were carefully selected.
The political and civil populace appreciate the centrality of the military, not only in defending the territorial integrity of the nation, but also creating a conducive atmosphere for democracy to thrive.
It is a known fact that when the soldiers are well trained, their performance in maintaining the peace and security of the nation is guaranteed.
The 2019 Inter-Brigade competition for corporals and below is in line with the Chief of Army Staff vision of having a professional and responsive Nigerian Army that can always defend the nation's territorial integrity. In Akure, Olajide Bello, NTA News.
Now, have you ever heard of a pipe band? Now, don't be shy to admit it if you have not. I have not either. So, we're in good company. Najatu Tijani is, however, here to bring us details of the first course graduates of the Nigerian Air Force Pipe Band. Najatu, we're all ears.
No, it isn't the Queen of England being escorted by a Scottish regiment of bagpipe players. Look again. These are Course 1 graduates of the Nigerian Air Force Pipe Band. Yes, they have something to do with royalty as they differ from the regular bands, though the Chief of the Air Staff is amongst the privileged few who enjoy the services of the Nigerian Air Force Pipe Band. Now, as part of the Nigerian Air Force mandate of capacity building and retraining in line with international best practices, 22 airmen and 3 airwomen underwent an intensive 3-month course in order to be certified here. Lance Corporal Ekundayo is one of the graduates and is grateful for the opportunity to serve her fatherland in a unique way.
To be realistic, I barely hear of the bagpipe in Nigeria, so it's a privilege for me to be one in the Nigerian Air Force.
The initiative is also part of the key drivers of the Nigerian Air Force, which includes adding value to various communities where Nigerian Air Force units are situated.
The training of the pipe band was based on our drive and determination to utilize available local resources and expertise, which also translates to cost saving as well as local content development.
Already, they have resumed duties as the wing in charge of the training awaits being upgraded to a full-fledged directorate in future. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
Many thanks, Najah. And I'm now taking you back to our earlier story from Kogi State, where the police command has inaugurated Operation Puff Adder, deployed in the state in line with the directive of the Inspector General of Police. We now bring you the details as brought in by our correspondent, Francis Udojo.
Following the upsurge of armed banditry, kidnappings and cattle rustling in some states of the Federation, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, launched Operation Puff Adder to reassure citizens of their safety of lives and property. This informed the deployment of 340 personnel, comprising units from Police Mobile Force, Counter-Terrorism, Special Tactical Squad, Explosive Ordnance Department to Kogi State.
It also involves massive deployment of well-trained, equipped and well-motivated personnel geared towards ridding Kogi State of all forms of crime and criminality.
The Inspector General of Police charged the Special Squad with the following responsibilities, among others: to appreciate the worrisome crime situation in Kogi State and quickly design a template and contain the same; to identify all criminal syndicates, their leaders, foot soldiers, sponsors, and arrest them with operational precision.
The Commissioner therefore called on stakeholders, especially traditional rulers, religious leaders, politicians, to give the police maximum support in cleansing the state of all forms of criminal acts.
Those who engage in criminal activities are warned to desist from such and hand over their arms and ammunition to the police and engage in something meaningful for their lives, or be prepared to face the full consequences of their action.
The Commissioner, Busari, while charging the officers and men to be disciplined and professional in their line of duty, also carried out special inspection on the personnel. In Lokoja, Francis Udojo, NTA News.
Well, I'm sure you know the slogan, what men can do, women can do better. Well, it is the motto of the Nigerian Army Female Corps. What is it about them that elicits this kind of motto? And what is in place to ensure that these combatants live up to the motto? Defense correspondent Ismail Musa, who is at the Nigerian Army Female Corps training session in 3 Division Jos, tells us.
These are female soldiers of the Nigerian Army. Just like their colleagues in other armies in Africa, their responsibilities are mostly secretarial duties and support role, which limited their prospect and aspiration in the service. The Nigerian Army is, however, changing the trend as it established the Female Corps in March 2019, the first in Nigeria and in Africa to fully integrate their potentials into the nation's security architecture.
The dynamics of Nigerian Army operations in this dispensation are such that the female personnel cannot be left behind. They are vital to the attainment of Nigerian Army operational objectives, especially in the Northeast, where women and girls involved in insurgency are either victims or villains, require specific female attention. There is no gainsaying the fact that there are some military operations, such as psychological operations, in which the female officers and soldiers, by their gender, excel over men.
The training week, which is not only the first for the Nigerian Women Corps, but also the first of its kind in the history of Nigeria, and the Army in particular, is vital to the progress of our Corps because it affords us a special opportunity to brainstorm on challenges of the Nigerian Army faces in tackling the emerging roles of its female personnel.
The female combatants had an outstanding performance in the Operation Safe Corridor that supported the civil authority during the concluded 2019 elections. From the 3 Division Jos, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Now, are you a person living with albinism? Here is the good news for you. Now, did I hear you ask? Cheering news. Yes, your agenda has reached the next level. The government is providing a shield for you occasioned by intimidation and harassment you receive from fellow human beings who look down on you. The Permanent Secretary, Minister of Education, Sonny Ochono, has inaugurated a technical committee to review the national policy on albinism with a view to protecting and making you equal to other members of the Nigerian society in terms of rights. Abdullahi Musa Suleja was there, and he brings us the details.
People living with albinism in Africa have been suffering from one form of stigmatization or the other, a trend that even infringes on their right. To live up to its responsibility of being there for all by protecting everybody's right, government formulated a national policy on albinism, which is now due for review as a result of emerging challenges confronting the albinism community in the country. Permanent Secretary, Minister of Education, Sonny Ochono, said the review will facilitate and improve the lives of albinism through access to social services that includes education, health, employment, reduce stigma and discrimination, as well as inclusion into social, economic, political and cultural development of the country.
Reviewing the policy will equally facilitate adequate planning and allocation of resources to albinism issues in Nigeria. It will empower such persons, the various organizations in the sector and the decision makers on issues of albinism and the development of effective inclusion and participation.
The committee is to be co-chaired by Director Basic and Secondary Education of the Ministry, Dr. Lami Ahmadu, and President, Albinism Foundation, Jack Pele. Abdullahi Musa Suleja, NTA News.
The provision of improved working condition and well-being of workers are some of the areas of focus of the present administration, especially in the area of affordable housing, training and other welfare packages. But most public and civil servants are not aware of this development. As part of its communication strategy to keep workers well informed on the policy direction of government on workers' welfare, the Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation presented to the public its monthly service welfare publication. Adebola Brooksland Sunday was there and quotes.
Gathered here are civil servants from all ministries, departments and agencies and other workers for the second edition of the quarterly forum with joint union leaders. Permanent Secretary Service Welfare in the office of the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Dede Wilson Jack, says paying attention to the welfare of civil servants is expected to lead to productivity output of workers.
The newsletter is to be used as a medium to inform, educate, and motivate federal public servants across the MDAs by keeping them abreast of various initiatives of government targeted at improving their welfare and well-being.
Operation of the Service Welfare website and digital help desk were also demonstrated.
It's not going to be a one-way thing. Federal government will tell us things via the newsletter, and the civil servants in return will tell the federal government some things.
The forum is aimed at fostering industrial peace and harmony in Nigeria's public service. Adebola Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
Well, the public service of any country is expected to provide advisory support to the government and render quality services to the public. To ensure that these roles are performed effectively, they needed to be trained on modern techniques. This was the focus of a two-day Train the Trainer workshop organized by the West African Management Development Institute's network, WAMDEO, in Lagos. Tunde Saiki has that report.
Management Development Institutions, MDIs, the world over are noted to be the central medium through which capabilities, strategies, and innovations are developed to transforming organizations. It is against this background that the West African Management Development Institute's network, WAMDEVIN, organized the two-week Train the Trainers workshop for faculty staff of the West African Management Development and Training Institutions in Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Cameroon, and the Gambia. The workshop is therefore to broaden the horizon of those who are engaged in the business of strengthening the human and institutional capacities of government of their countries.
The service needs officers with strong analytical skills, capable of responding promptly to microeconomic and administrative issues, as well as providing practical solutions to those problems encountered in the different sectors of our national life.
The Director General of the Administrative Staff College of Nigerian ASCON, who was represented by the Director of Procurement, Babatunde Eniaejuni, said it is the responsibility of the MDIs in the sub-region to collaborate with one another through such trainings to effectively perform their duties effectively.
The MDIs have the responsibility for quality assurance, human capacity building, through training, research, and consultancy in various countries. We owe West African governments this much, and we need to work collaboratively with one another in order to effectively perform our duties to governments and citizens across the region.
The workshop is expected to equip participants with modern technology-driven training and development of MDIs in discharging their responsibilities in Lagos. Tunde Saiki, NTA News.
Now, what is happening to the implementation of the upward review of tax on tobacco products? For these and other business reports, stay tuned to News Extra when we return after the break.
Your perfect family is under threat by germs. Infectious diseases are now the world's biggest killer of adults and children. These infectious diseases are caused by germs. They are everywhere. An average human being comes in contact with over 1 million germs daily in unclean water, dirty surfaces, in the toilets, on cuts and wounds, on your clothes. Germs can cause deadly diseases like typhoid, diarrhea, flu, and cough. To protect your family from germs, use the power of Dettol's 1 Cup Full for surface cleaning in your bathing water, in your laundry water, for first aid to protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Introducing Dettol Antiseptic Liquid in Sachet for only 40 Naira. Endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association.
To the old school. Everybody love me when I do what I do, cause when I come through I got the power of cool. The power of cool.
Getting around heartburn and indigestion can be tricky if you eat too much. Eat food that is too spicy or greasy, or lie down after eating. Heartburn and indigestion could always be around the corner. When they come, be prepared with Gaviscon Double Action. It works within 3 minutes and lasts up to 8 hours. Gaviscon Double Action. Many causes, one solution.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the daring and invincible Louis the Mosquito. Responsible for 200 malaria cases all on its own. Is there anything that can kill Louis? Martin! Presenting Mortise Power Guard. Its powerful formula kills malaria mosquitoes fast. So, get Mortise Power Guard.
I thought leaving the country was the best decision for me and my future.
I left for a better life.
We were picked up by immigration officials and sent to a detention camp.
I spent 8 months in the detention camp. There was no food, no water.
I saw people being beaten like animals.
Some women were raped. Some women were sold as slaves.
I thought I would never see my loved ones again.
I have made the biggest mistake of my life.
I have wasted all my savings.
I have to start all over again.
Migration is a human phenomenon which cannot be stopped. But if we choose to migrate, we advocate that it should be done in a safe, orderly, regular, and dignified way, and not in a dangerous and tortuous manner.
This message is brought to you by the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons.
Good to have you join us again. Now, the 5th of March, 2018, the federal government issued a circular approving an upward review of tax on tobacco products and alcoholic beverages, not only for the purpose of increasing government revenue, but most importantly, for improving public health. The House of Representatives is therefore concerned that at this moment there is no significant implementation of that policy. It's over now to National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali for details on the resolution of House members on the matter.
The new tax regime on tobacco is in line with recommendations of the World Health Organization. The matter was tabled by Representative Sajo Sogu, on which members resolved to carry out an investigative hearing.
To exercise the needed institutional will to ensure full implementation of the new tax policy on tobacco and alcoholic beverages for health and economic benefits of the Nigerian people, as well as an upgrade review of the tax policy.
Passive smokers too. Anybody who sits around someone smoking is likely also going to get the health challenges that active smokers get.
Another motion that elicited comments from the lawmakers was the issue of concessioning of the Lagos Trade Fair International Market, which Representative Ogene Egu brought up.
Traders have been solely responsible for the construction of more than 95% of the structures within the Lagos Trade Fair International Market. Since they were allotted spaces by Lagos Trade Fair International Management Board, subject to valid subsidy agreements.
That land was acquired by federal government for the purposes of trade fair shows, not to construct shops, not to allocate it to individuals to build shops.
House committees on commerce and public petitions were mandated to investigate and report back. Meanwhile, 2 bills on the establishment of National Institute of Construction Technology and Management to put a stop to incidences of buildings collapse in Nigeria, and another to establish Defense Intelligence Agency Pensions Board were passed for second reading. The House members at plenary also considered and adopted the report on the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper, which spells out the basics for the implementation of the 2019 budget. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
We'd like to apologize for the hum on the inserts in that report. Time now to join Abolade Salami in Lagos Live for Business News. A very good evening to you.
Good evening, Fatima, and welcome to Business News segment. The development of high-tech and digital economy can significantly impact the flow of foreign direct investment. Former President, Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, Professor Segun Ajibola, in an interview with NTA's Business News, said some levels of regulation are needed to deepen digitization in various sectors of the economy. The 9th edition of the Annual Investment Forum that brought together world leaders and key private sector players had as its theme mapping the future of foreign direct investment and enriching the world economies through digital globalization. A professor of economics, Segun Ajibola, while analyzing the role of digitization in an economy, said virtually all economic activities in the world today are largely digitized. Hence, the need for Nigeria to make a deliberate policy that will be high-tech driven.
Given the size of our gross domestic product, so if we capture flow of transactions among 200 million population, that gives us the volume of data that cannot be matched by any other country. That gives us access to information that could be used to deepen economic activities, financial activities in the various sectors of the country.
He said with Nigeria's database growing and measures put together to address cybercrime in the country, it is urgent for stakeholders to resolve the issue of infrastructure in order to attract foreign direct investment. Oil prices rose this Wednesday following cuts in OPEC production, just as U.S. sanctions on Iran and Venezuela continue to tighten supply through economic worries. International benchmark Brent futures were up 18 cents at $70 a barrel, while crude rose 32 cents at $64 a barrel. Brent and West Texas Intermediate crude oil futures rose by about 30 and 40% respectively since the beginning of the year. And now, let's talk equities market. The Nigerian Capital Market Index has continued to record some level of sentiment as the Nigerian Stock Market All-Share Index closed trading at the 29,000 psychological line. Bearish sentiment, market watchers say, is expected as some investors are taking profit coupled with economic performance at the macroeconomic level.
Thank you for that historical overview of the All-Share Index. Yeah, it is true that 29,000 is psychological back. Yes, this will continue because the market mirrors the economy. And what we are experiencing in the general economy, the macroeconomic indicators are not indicating any positive growth. So if this continues, we are going to see more free fall in the All-Share Index. The markets is being affected by information, it's information driven, and series of other variables interplay to give us what we see in the market. So just tweaking the monetary policy rates by just 50 basis points is not enough to begin to see changes in the market because other factors come into play, other variables come into play.
And still talking equities, in the meantime, the Nigerian equities market has continued to show signs of recovery as the All-Share Index appreciated by 0.12% at the close of midweek trading. Here is today's details.
On to stock market. Midweek trading saw the market return into the green territory, appreciating by 0.12% to close the all-share index at 29,193.42 basis points. Volume of shares traded were 481 million, valued at 2.87 billion naira, which exchanged hands in 3,559 deals. Dangote Cement, Custodian, and Zenith Bank all closed in green, while CCNN, Unilever, and GlaxoSmith declined in figures. Sectoral indices shows that only the banking sector finished strong, appreciating by 0.62%, while NSE Consumer Goods, Industrial, NSE Insurance, and NSE Oil and Gas all lost gains, depreciating by 0.44%, 1.25%, 0.62%, and 0.30%. That's it on Stock Market Report.
And that's a wrap on Business News segment. News Extra continues shortly with Fatima in Abuja. Good evening.
Many thanks, Abolade, for that business update. And back in Abuja, we have a story on a promise kept. President Muhammadu Buhari has largely kept faith with his pledge to make life better for Nigerians with the array of legacy projects cited by his administration across the length and breadth of the country. Olabode Arewa outlines some of them in this next report.
On the 8th of February 2019, President Muhammadu Buhari presided over the signing of a partnership between the Nigerian Special Economic Zones Investment Company and Strategic Investment Partners. Made in Nigeria for Exports is Buhari Administration Special Economic Zones program that seeks to boost manufacturing's share of the GDP to 20%. On January 9, 2019, President Buhari inaugurated the Presidential Technical Advisory Committee on the implementation of the national minimum wage to advise the federal government on how best to fund in a sustained manner the additional cost of implementing the imminent increase in the national minimum wage. January 23, 2019, the Strategic Revenue Growth Initiatives of the federal government was launched by the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, in Abuja on three main planks, namely achieving sustainability in revenue generation, identifying new and enhancing the enforcement of the existing revenue streams, achieving cohesion in the revenue ecosystem. The President signed Executive Order 007 of 2019 on the Road Infrastructure Development and Refurbishment Investment Tax Credit Scheme. Election season did not halt or negatively affect ongoing federal government construction projects across the country. Various projects are currently proceeding. Simply prioritized the completion of critical ongoing projects over the introduction of new ones. The National Bureau of Statistics released figures for the fourth quarter of 2018 economic growth, which is 2.3%, and for the full year of 2018, which is 1.93%, more than double the full year 2017 growth rate of 0.82%. This growth in the fourth quarter of 2018, as well as for the full year, owed a great deal to the performance of the non-oil sector.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, is set to establish fuel ethanol processing plants in collaboration with 9 state governments for generation of electricity, raw and refined sugar, as well as animal feeds. NNPC Group Managing Director Mekan Tibaru disclosed this at the 40th Annual Kaduna International Trade Fair. Benny Adams has the details.
The dance and drama that brought smiles on the face of Mekan Tibaru, the Group Managing Director of the NNPC, and other top NNPC functionaries, marked the celebration of the move to diversify the nation's economy beyond the reliance on the oil and gas industry, in line with the 40th Kaduna International Trade Fair theme, which is consolidating interface between industry and agriculture for Nigeria's sustainable development. Mekan Tibaru disclosed that the NNPC has reached understanding with 9 states to produce biofuel, yield cane mills, produce raw and refined sugar, as well as generate sizable megawatts of power, among others. Baru speaks on commitments to product availability across the country, employment of technology to improve the oil and gas industry, as well as progress on Kolmani wells exploration.
So far, the drilling has been going on smoothly, and of course with every exploration well, we do the needful. If we need to prod any particular section, we take our time to do it. So our target date is to see that before the end of May, or by the end of May, we complete exploration on that particular well, then move to Kolmani River 3, which site is also almost ready for the rig to move there. From there, we are going to move to some other locations.
For the Kaduna State Chamber of Commerce, Mines, Industry and Agriculture, the multi-sectoral collaboration between agriculture and industry is a veritable tool to economic growth. In Kaduna, Benny Adams, NTA News.
Now, for those who enjoy eating yam, cooked, fried or roasted, do you know the process involved in cultivating, harvesting and stocking the so-called king of crops in the ban? Now, not to talk of the cash that flows from its sales. Well, here is one traditional ruler who is taking it upon himself to revive the learning, process of farming and the festival associated with it. The Egbere Emere Okori and paramount ruler Ogali Eleme in Rivers State, His Royal Highness Apollos Chu, his yam ban has now turned to an agricultural and cultural museum where people come in to get first-hand knowledge on yam farming. Chimdimma Ndibisi was there and she tells us more.
In the olden days in southern Nigeria, what distinguished a man as hardworking and wealthy are the vast farmland he cultivates and number of yam tubers he has. There's even a festival to celebrate this achievement. But with time, these values are eroding. There's, however, someone that is reviving that way of life. The Egbere Emere Okori of Eleme in Rivers State, His Royal Highness Apollos Chu. After harvest, he has stacked 42,000 tubers of yam in his barn to earn the highest yam title in the land, Atretesa. The barn is now an attraction site for gaining historic knowledge of Eleme people's yam farming culture. Recently, students from State School, Ascension High School in Ogale and Community Secondary School, Ebubu, were tourists there.
Each of these slides gives you 21 yams. So if you multiply it by 100, you have 2,100 yams to give you a aju.
These students and their teachers see this as agriculture in practical terms.
I have learned
how they plant the yam.
The king have taught us something. The king have motivated us. I've learned so much here.
I will go to my school from the pre-nursery to the primary 6. Make sure I impart this knowledge.
I want to thank our king. He has done a great thing in this place.
For the king, the move has a double-edged effect, encouraging people, especially the youth, to embrace farming in line with the federal government's agenda of diversifying the economy through agriculture and then to promote culture. The monarch feels the energy of the younger ones should be expended on a positive cause rather than on antisocial activities.
Our youth are really discharging their energy in a wrong manner, going to engaging in the courtesan and fighting themselves. So I look at that, that means that I have to review what our forefathers have done. That this is a very wonderful one for them. Because by the time they engage you in farming, you do all the farming exercise for that day. By the time you walk back again, you are tired and exhausted. Then you don't look at how to take your bath and sleep because you can't have time to go and key.
With this, it is believed that transmission of cultural heritage is on, and generations to come will learn and carry on with these values. Chimdema Ndubisi, NTA News.
Thank you, Chimdema. Now, the Federal Road Safety Corps will commence full implementation of the penalty point system of traffic offenders come 1st June 2019. A statement issued by the Corps Public Education Officer, Bisi Kazim, says by this development, offenders who violate traffic regulations for a stipulated number of times will be sent back to driving schools for a retraining, while others will be subjected to compulsory community service according to the number of offenses committed, or pay certain amount of money as fines. Corps Marshal Boboye Oyeyemi stated this during a critical summit on information technology at the national headquarters in Abuja. You're watching the news with the extra touch. Up next, more Nigerian youths taking off the labor market under the Youth Empowerment and Social Support Operations. We'll be right back with the details.
Team huddle. But we lost. Don't be tired, guys. This isn't a loss. It's a practice for winning.
Nothing makes a mother prouder than seeing her child growing up. But I know as he learns to lead, he'll face even more dirt, germs, and risk of illness.
That's why in changing seasons, you need strong Dettol protection. Because Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
You can follow us on all our social media platforms. Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online, or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
You're welcome back. You're still watching NTA News Extra, reaching you live from Abuja, Nigeria's capital city. The Chairman Presidential Advisory Committee for the Elimination of Drug Abuse, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, says his team is determined to end drug abuse in Nigeria through workable and sustainable solution. He was speaking in Lagos at an advocacy meeting with stakeholders in the health sector. Joe Ken Abakura has the details.
Every day in Nigeria, stories are rife of children, teenagers, and youths involved in drugs, some of them losing their sanity and others their lives to this menace. Recent statistics by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime show that Nigeria has a national average of 14.4% prevalence of drug abuse. This almost triples the world average of 5.6%. These findings show that immediate attention is required to reverse the trend. The Presidential Advisory Committee for the Elimination of Drug Abuse is therefore in Lagos to assess the situation and gather information in its bid to find implementable solutions.
We want to talk to states and find out what are the structures there, how have they been facing up to this challenge, what are their successes, if any, and failures, so that we can strengthen them, hear from them, and inculcate from what we have had, what we think we can put into the recommendations.
This session, which had stakeholders from the Ministry of Health and other public and private health sectors, focused on stigmatization of drug victims, miscellaneous drugs, and challenges hindering the fight against drug abuse.
What can ruin a nation is for the young generation. No matter how brilliant they are, no matter how educated they are, if they go into drugs.
There is no government that is funding the health sector adequately in this country. We all signed an agreement with WHO, we mentioned 15%, which is a big deal. Not very few are funding the health sector more than 5% of the expenditure of the various governments.
It is expected that the combined efforts of PASEDA and other relevant agencies will lead to accelerated elimination of the growing monster of drug abuse. In Lagos, Joy Ken Abakuya, NTA News.
3,602 persons, including the physically challenged and persons living with HIV/AIDS in Taraba State, have so far benefited from the federal government's public welfare scheme under the Youth Empowerment and Social Support Operation. This was made known during a 3-day enrollment and orientation program for participants of the second batch of the scheme, which took place in Lau, local government area of Taraba State. Joseph Saundo Otsen has the details.
Apart from a large number of unemployed graduates, a significant proportion of non-educated and secondary school dropouts form large population of unemployed youths in Nigeria. These security experts have pointed out to be responsible for some of the social vices in the country due to idleness and hardship. To take most of these youths off the streets, the federal government, in collaboration with the World Bank, has launched a public work fair scheme. Through this program, non-educated and secondary school dropouts are given adequate orientation and training on how to execute some projects and later deployed to different communities to engage in works like rehabilitation of roads, reforestation, construction of markets, and general sanitation, among other social works. The second batch of the scheme was launched in Taraba State with over 2,000 persons participating.
The conditions are very simple. One of them is you must have an existing program similar to this intervention, which Taraba is one of those people that have. And most of these youth are not educated, as well as they are not employed. And if they are not cared for, they will become a nuisance to their communities and the nation at large.
The first batch of the empowerment program had about 1,500 beneficiaries, making a total of 3,632 beneficiaries so far in Taraba State.
The governor is well encouraged about it, and he will be paying the 10% counterpart.
We have thanked the government that they have remembered us, the youth, the poor people, and they have given us something in life today.
The scheme is targeting over 8,000 by June this year. Joseph Sound Otsen, NTA News.
Understanding the concept of migration and appropriate application and usage of technologies associated with the migrants on reportage was the focal point of the capacity building workshop for media practitioners conducted in Kefi by the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons in collaboration with the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation. Suraj Abdullahi has the details.
With the migration becoming an emerging global issue, concerns are raised on the consequences of the trend. This informed the idea for this capacity building workshop for media practitioners on how best to report issues related to migration. International Organization for Migration statistical data shows that about 1 billion migrants, accounting for 1/7 of the world population, is worrisome and pose major developmental challenge globally. Federal Commissioner for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, Sadia Umar Farouk, in a message, noted that media is key to addressing the migration issue if properly acquainted with relevant terms and concepts.
Media helps in shaping public perceptions of migrants as well as ensuring that migrants have equal access to migration.
But how well are media coping with this story, and how is migration really being reported? This remains a contentious issue and one that is of significant importance for sound public action.
The right use of words or terminologies in migration by the media could mean a lot.
Participants lauded the initiative, describing the workshop as skill booster.
This training will equip journalists on the way to report migration issues.
In any reports, we should not just follow footage being sent on social media. We should do our own findings first.
To ensure that the media are truly carried along to project and to amplify the messages and the narrative.
To stakeholders here, migration is not a crime, especially when it is done legally and within the laws of the host countries. Suraj Abdullahi, NTA News.
Well, Suraj, I quite agree that migration could be legal or illegal, but experts in population matters are raising concerns over the disappearance of some components of life and ecosystem as the nation's population continues to expand to higher proportion. Now, this was during a 3-day national conference of Nigeria tropical biologists held at the Federal University, Dutse in Jigawa State. Ibrahim Sani has the details of that report.
Experts have projected that Nigeria's population will continue to grow and is expected to reach about 300 million by 2050. These, according to experts, have direct implications on biodiversity, including plants and animals, and the ecosystem as currently the 11 states of Adamawa, Yobe, Borno, Jigawa, Zamfara, Katsina, Kebbi, and Sokoto states are affected by the challenge of drought and desertification.
Human beings, we are the most intelligent species, of all the species on Earth. So the onus is on us to take care of the environment, to conserve biodiversity. If you fail to do that, nobody else can.
Concerned by this challenge, speakers at the 6th National Conference of the Nigeria Tropical Biology Association recommended for people to be proactive and be environmentally friendly to tackle the threat caused by rapid population growth in the country.
Let us not throw rubbish. Let us be very conscious of the environment, then not discharge waste into the environment, because all these have an effect on the environmental conditions.
The whole country is actually facing a great disaster to come if nothing is done, especially when it comes to destruction of environment that causes loss of biodiversity. We are in such a situation that this needs to be done. There has to be some way of enlightening people on the way we, like, for example, deforest our land, cutting of our trees, etc.
The conference will offer recommendations that will lead to the conservation and sustainability of biodiversity that will match the Nigeria's rapid population growth. In Dutse, Ibrahim Sani, NTA News.
Well, for Nigeria to join the League of Countries, which are already shifting attention from natural resources to knowledge-based development, it is imperative that institutions of higher learning be retooled to chart a course in this direction. In this next report, correspondent Adeni Taiwo takes a look at missed opportunities by the nation as a result of a disconnect between the nation's ivory towers and industries.
Only in ensuring food sufficiency, but also in driving other industrial sectors. At 22, Busari Azizat is on the verge of completing a first-degree course in agricultural engineering at the Ladoke Akitola University, Ogumosho. Her frail look notwithstanding, she does not have any scruples about rolling up her sleeves and getting her hands dirty tilling the ground. But she holds a strong view that agriculture and all the potential it holds can be more attractive to young Nigerians if the sector is able to harness available opportunities in agricultural engineering to make the work easier, faster and more dignifying. One of such opportunities is automated irrigation system.
There are several ways of automating. You could use your phone, create like a kind of a virtual network. There are sensors in the soil, sensing the temperature, the relative humidity. It's already programmed. Okay, so at this certain time you should put it on. At this certain time you should put it off. That's how it works. You can just operate on your phone. You can have, you can develop an interface on your computer where you can always, control it.
Nigeria may, however, have to wait a little longer for Azizat's lofty dream and similar ones by other eager Nigerian youths to come to pass due to lack of fund for needed research.
We have a group of students that are very, very passionate about solving problem in irrigation, like they want to automate irrigation, and they can't go on because they don't have access to funds. They can't afford it as a group, group members are supposed to work on the project and get funds from their parents and all, but because they can't afford, they had to terminate and go to something else. And of course the dream still lives on, and apparently if I have access to funds from other people that are not even Nigerians, come on, I'm gonna do it.
Speaking on the sideline of a conference organized by a youth mentoring body at LAUTECH in Ogumosho, Head of Department Mechatronics Engineering, Federal University of Technology, Minna, Professor Abiodun Aibino said the yawning gap between research works from our institutions in Nigeria and societal growth could only be bridged when the synergy among the academic community, policymakers and industries.
And the future depends on the application of knowledge to solve our societal problem. This include application of artificial intelligence, application of spiritual intelligence in solving our societal problem. And there is great need for the academia and the industry to collaborate.
Development experts have often warned that Nigeria's quest for all-round development may be slow, if not elusive, until the nation addresses the disconnect between the knowledge and industrial base. Without government making deliberate and due recourse to arbiters for research that can serve as knowledge base to drive Nigeria's development, experts are of the opinion that such efforts will remain a mirage. In Ogumosho, Adini Itewo, NTA News.
Nigerians are known to be their brother's keepers. This probably explains why there has been so much goodwill towards internally displaced persons by individuals, government and non-governmental organizations in various parts of the country. The latest gesture is towards displaced persons in Benue State, where a professional body donated drugs and other relief materials. Charles Abba has that report.
In the wake of the crisis that led to the displacement of various communities from their ancestral homes, the federal government put in place security measures to ensure that they return. However, some of the internally displaced persons that remain in camps still have to depend on assistance from government and non-governmental organizations to meet their daily needs. It is in furtherance of this gesture that the Medical and Dental Consultant Association of Nigeria, MDCAN, has plowed in assorted relief materials including bags of rice, toiletry, detergent, mats, clothing, footwear, and drugs for use by the displaced persons.
We also want to appeal to our government at all levels, the community leaders, that things like this should be prevented. It should be prevented because, you see, these are productive people who are now being displaced from the areas where they can contribute to the economy.
We'll be coming here from time to time to see the people treat their illnesses. Apart from the head needs, they also need nutritional support.
Why, when the national body called that we should join in this effort to make a presentation, we will swing into action, and we also participated. We have bought these items, and then we have come to visit them to give them these food items and also give them some drugs.
Although various relief materials have been donated to the internally displaced persons in this camp, but their earnest cry and desire is that they should go back to their ancestral homes to do things themselves so that they can keep their lives going. As the saying goes, there is no place like home. From the IDP camp at Abagana, Charles Abba, NTA News.
When News Extra returns after the break, we will bring you global tidbits, sports update, and of course, the weather outlook. Please stay. Thank you for rejoining us on this last lap of the program. Uche Ugochukwu is standing by to bring us happenings around the globe.
You're welcome. A UN-sponsored Libyan National Conference, which was due to be held in a few days, has been postponed. The aim of the three-day meeting was to bring Libyans from across the country to a round table to chart the country's political future. But a statement by Hassan Salam, the special representative to the UN's mission to Libya, said the postponement comes amidst renewed conflicts on the fringes of the capital, Tripoli. The head of the Algerian army says he expects the judiciary to start prosecuting the country's ruling elite as Algiers witnessed another day of protests. Lieutenant General Ahmed Gaid Salah described the men around President Abdulaziz Bouteflika, who was forced to resign last week, as the gang. He said that the judiciary would launch proceedings into the political elite's corruption, abuse of power and plundering of the country's resources. Israeli election results on Wednesday show Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on the path to re-election, with religious rightist parties set to hand him a parliamentary majority, despite a close contest against his main centrist challenger. With more than 97% of votes counted, Netanyahu's conservative Likud party looks likely to muster enough support to control 65 of the 120 seats. Meanwhile, Netanyahu faces possible indictment in 3 graft cases, which he has denied wrongdoing in all of them. Thanks for staying tuned. I am Uche Ugochukwu.
And for a bit on sports now, FIFA Women's World Cup trophy on display Thursday in Abuja as Western Central Africa Golf Challenge tees off Thursday in Lagos. Details of these are more on sports with Amanzi Marcus.
As is the tradition with the FIFA World Cup, the FIFA Women's World Cup will be on tour of Nigeria Thursday with a public display of the trophy at the Transcorp Hilton, Abuja. Officials of the Nigeria Football Federation and Sports Minister Solomon Dalung will receive the delegation, which includes Osaze Odewingi, a FIFA legend. The trophy departs Abuja Thursday for Norway as part of its tour of